Earlier today, BKFC had a pre-fight press conference for Eddie Alvarez versus Jeremy Stephens, and Conor McGregor, part owner of BKFC, decided to show up to the press conference strung out on drugs, on alcohol. Conor McGregor, you don't ever see him in public acting like a normal human being. And while we're going to look at that press conference, which I think was a complete and utter disaster for Conor McGregor, we also have some clips of Conor McGregor getting humiliated to his face by Logan Paul and Jake Paul. We also have an interview where Conor begins to kind of hint at trying to fight outside the UFC while still under UFC contract and potentially having legal ramifications, which I thought was outright insane. And it was just a very small hint from Conor where he started and then he stopped. And I don't think a lot of people are going to point it out. So we're also going to look at that, but that's not it. That's not all for this video. I also found something out today that I called out maybe a week and a half ago, that today was finally, this take for me was finally vindicated. Not that a lot of people were against me, but Conor McGregor and his brand as a whole took a massive hit today, and I have not seen one person point it out. I just found this out about an hour ago. We're going to get to it later in the video. We're going to break it all down in this video. And the reason I'm making this video is because there's all these different things that have come out recently, but also it's just making me further believe that Conor McGregor will never fight in the UFC again. There's a chance he fights later this year. I talked about it in a previous video. But man, Conor looks horrible. He looks absolutely horrible. Let's jump right into it because we have a lot to check out. I want to get right into it. And also we have a video of Conor literally tweaking, because every time I make one of these videos, people try to defend Conor. There's literally a video of him tweaking out. It's like a video from a little under a year ago, which we'll also throw in at the end of this video. So first thing I want to show you is Conor McGregor getting humiliated to his face by Logan Paul and Jake Paul. And also, I want you to watch everyone surrounding Conor McGregor here, because they're all like, this guy's on drugs. This guy's coked out, okay? That's what they're thinking here. And this is in the morning. This is in the morning. Conor and all the, Paul brothers went to the inauguration the other day. And this is how Conor's acting at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, which is, it's completely unhinged. The Conor McGregor is unhinged, man. Watch this.
Sweet here, it's all sweet here, yeah. You kept your mouth shut, you did. I thought we were going to get the fight down when we get...
What? You kept your mouth shut, you did. I thought we were going to get the fight going. Now, we're going to touch on this a little bit later in the video. I broke this down last week. I've unveiled something new about this today that we're going to get to later in the video as well. But Conor McGregor, I called it perfectly. Conor McGregor was pushing the McGregor versus Logan Paul fight to the public, hoping that the public would get behind it, because behind closed doors, the UFC and Dana White were telling Conor McGregor no. We'll get to that a little bit more in a minute.
Very quiet.
What did you think the best course of action was for that?
You were giving all this Dana, that. You're f***ing control with the WWE as well. But I don't giving all this mega step.
I didn't hear the last 5 seconds.
That was in the air for us. Yes, bring it home for me.
It's 8 a.m. How?
You can tell he's got a Zen. He put a Zen in his mind.
Look. Did you watch everyone's facial expressions? They're like, what is this guy even talking about? I know people get mad when I replay something, but literally Conor's going off on this coke binge, unhinged rant, okay? And everyone's like, huh? What's going on here?
5 seconds.
That was in the air for us. Yes, bring it home for me.
It's 8 a.m. How?
Anyway, there's more to this. There's more to this because in a second, Logan humiliates him.
Tell he's got a Zen. He put a Zen in his mind.
Did you hear that guy? I think that was one of the Nelk boys. He said more than a Zen. Now Conor, even more drugged up, on the bus now, shouting at Logan and Jake Paul here. Watch this.
Real deal, yeah? In front of you,
Look how horrible he looks. Shout out to whoever's going to jump in my comments and say, look at you, fat boy. Look at Conor. This guy is... he's as rich as can be. He has a large family that apparently he goes out and cheats on his wife 24/7 while she has young children at home. And he's out at 8 o'clock in the morning drugged up going to a presidential inauguration. That's insane. But let's continue.
You know that, bro. So look here, I was doing. He wouldn't do what? 190, 195 or something? I'd do a 90. He was sick. He was sick over it, yeah. He was sick.
I'm sick.
You're sick. Listen, here's the deal. I'm going to slap the head off the two of yous and KSI. No! Yous are mixers to me. You understand that? Side jobs. A little side job.
No,
yeah?
you can't even do your main job. How you gonna do a side job?
You know, that's what I'm afraid of November stage.
Simmer down.
Look, I don't like the Paul brothers at all, but look at Conor's so desperate here. He's trying to still shoehorn some backroom deal for an influencer exhibition boxing match with one of the Paul brothers. I don't know, like, I don't know another word to use for it other than humiliation. How far has Conor McGregor fallen? He's essentially groveling at the feet of YouTubers trying to influence or box them. And they're saying, you guys are side jobs. And Logan Paul accurately points out, you can't even do your main job. How do I expect you to do a side job? Because you're always drunk and you're always on drugs. You're always intoxicated to some level, to some degree, every time you're out in public. Watch it one more time.
Yous are mixers to me. You understand that? Side jobs. A little side job.
No,
yeah?
you can't even do your main job. How you gonna do a side job?
You know, that's what I'm afraid of November stage.
10-8, boom, 10-8. Logan Paul called him out there. We got more to check out, okay? Because we also have this Conor McGregor Schmo interview, which I actually think was, for as short as the interview was, very, very telling about what's going on with Conor McGregor in the UFC. This interview just came out recently. I'll link the full interview down in the description if you care to go check it out. We're going to get to the press conference here in a second, but listen to this.
You know, it is what it is. The UFC just aren't into it. I had the offer was there on the table in writing.
Talking about him versus Logan Paul in India, which was spread around by his website.
You know, both athletes will say he's not a fighter, but whatever. Both athletes under the TKO banner, UFC, WWE, both rising up. You know, the stock price of TKO holding group through the roof. New market in India opened up and booming. It was business savvy and business sense to make the fight happen, or should I say, the glorified spar happen. And in between this waiting period that we find ourselves in before I can get back to the octagon, it made perfect sense on the calendar to go ahead with it. The UFC went into it. I'm not sure the WWE what their interest in was. I just knew the UFC went into it, and. You know, and what's his name? The other Logan. He just kept quiet. He didn't say nothing. I was like, mate, you need to say something. You need to open your fucking mouth. I wasn't talking to him directly. He put up this video and edited it like I'd send him a voice note. I was talking to the fucking crowd that was the Ambani royal family of India, and then they were sending it to him. And I was like, mate, it's basic trying to get him to get going. I had no problem doing that. And to be honest, I'd have done it either.
So get going. Logan wouldn't open his mouth. We already heard that in the face-to-face confrontation. Essentially, what I broke down last week about him trying to drum up interest to kind of force the UFC's hand, but let's listen to a little bit more.
No way. Just said that they, one of these days, you just hear my music come onto the stage here in Bare Knuckle Fight Championship, and now I come with me fist wrapped with no gloves and a fight out of nowhere, no promo, no nothing, just fighting a random fight in a car. That could be where my future holds.
Listen to that. Listen to that. One day he's going to show up to BKFC with his hands wrapped, no promotion, and fight in BKFC. That's what his future holds. Does that sound like a man who plans on returning to the UFC? We do not know when his sunset clause is or if he has a sunset clause. I suspect he does have a sunset clause that is ending either late 2025 or early 2026, which means 5 years from the date you signed your last UFC contract, you are a free man. Bare minimum, that would be in early 2026, based on my calculations, which is an educated guess. Now he's talking about my future holds showing up to BKFC and fighting in BKFC. And also, you can clearly see he's not happy that the UFC did not go for this Logan Paul bout because it worked on Conor's timeline while he waits to potentially return to the UFC. Where it's early 2025. Chandler left his family, his wife and kids, in early 2024. Chandler versus McGregor was announced in early 2023. But that's not the best part here. That's not the most telling part here, because Conor starts to say something and then he stops right after the statement. And I don't think a lot of people are going to pick up on this, but it shows that he is unhappy with the UFC. I'm going to rewind it a little bit so you can get the full context in one clip. So listen to this.
And a fight out of nowhere, no promo, no nothing, just fighting a random fight in a car. That could be where my future holds. And you know, legal, just making claims and all this bollocks. That's what pussies. That's what.
Did you guys hear that? Legal, and making claims. That's for pussies. What is he talking about there? Is he talking about if he wants to leave the UFC potentially at the end of this year and just go fight for BKFC instead of the UFC, and the UFC has a legal claim to Conor, and there's some type of legal battle between Conor McGregor, BKFC, and the UFC? I think that's what he was alluding to there. You know, obviously, he's not completely in the right mind right now. He doesn't look as bad as he looked at the presser, which we're going to get to in a second. But I think that's very, very interesting that he's talking about fighting in BKFC, and then he's saying, oh, legal, you know, all those claims, and kind of, you know, downplaying it a bit because he's worried that the UFC is going to come after him, because this guy does not want to fight elite level fighters in the UFC. He does not want to fight elite level fighters in the UFC, which he's going to say very clearly here in a second. But before we get to the next clip from the Schmo interview, so I showed you multiple clips, once from the Schmo interview as well as the Logan Paul face-to-face that we just looked at, where they were talking on the street and they were talking on the bus, and he's like, Logan wouldn't keep his mouth shut, and this and that and this and that. Well, I made a video last week. Oh, that's not it. That's the press conference. I made a video last week where I talked about how Conor McGregor was pushing the Logan Paul bout as a way to try to drum up fan interest and force the UFC's hand. I made a video, this was on January 15th, so about 10 days ago. And you can see right here, here's the webpage where it was being reported on a MacLife, okay? Which is Conor McGregor's website, which is why people were confused about this, because it was a legitimate source reporting it. MacLife is pretty credible. And I talked about how now Conor McGregor's bringing down every brand that he's attached to because of the way he's acting and the way he's carrying himself. And that's not even getting into all the allegations and recently being found civilly liable of sexual assault. But you know what's funny about this, right? You can see this webpage right here. When I do a video, I link my sources down in the description. And when I wanted to do this video, I wanted to go back to that webpage. Well, you know what happened when I clicked on my link in my description? This is what happened. So MacLife, who posted that article on December 29th, it was up on January 15th. It had been up for weeks. Now you get a 404 page not found. If you need to go back home, look, you can see I'm on the MacLife here. Going back home. There you go. I mean, this is MacLife. You go back, 404 page not found, directly from the links in my description where originally this web page was. So that was 100% accurate. And I mean, talk about devaluing your website. MacLife is one of the biggest MMA websites in the space. They're very, very credible. They're reporting on fake fights to try to help Conor McGregor get leverage behind the scenes with the UFC as Conor tries to work some weird backroom deal with India and Logan Paul. Think about how crazy that is. Let me put that all together in one coherent sentence. Conor McGregor is trying to conspire with Logan Paul in India and his website, and he's using his website as a means to an end to try to push an influencer boxing match that the UFC, who he's under contract with but hasn't fought in years, for 4 years, he's trying to use all this to circumvent Dana White and the UFC and force their hand to have this influencer payday, which he clearly wants, and he brings it up more in the Schmo interview. We're going to check out another clip from the Schmo interview. We're going to jump ahead. I mean, this is what I've thought for a while. He said he was in Saudi Arabia for a boxing match like last year or maybe a year and a half ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, where he said, yeah, I wanted a tune-up fight. I don't want to fight Michael Chandler. He basically said, I want a tune-up fight, okay, for just to give you a paraphrase what Conor said. And I said, look, this guy doesn't want to fight elite level competition. He's never going to fight Michael Chandler. I used to get shit for that, believe it or not. I said in January of 2023, February of 2023, that Conor would never fight Michael Chandler. And I was laughed at. Listen to what he has to say in this Schmo interview. Listen to this.
They were shrewd. They understood. I am a UFC fighter. He is a WWE fighter. But to get one without the other, and it would be difficult. So it was always Logan. Yeah, for sure. It was always Logan. And I like it. Like I said, I am more inclined now for this influencer, fucking whatever you call it, because it's astronomical money, Sean.
I am more inclined for this influencer, whatever you call it, because it's astronomical money. I told you guys, he does not wish to compete against elite level fighters. He only wants like influencer bouts. If he fights for BKFC, he can get a favorable matchup. And guess what? He owns part of BKFC. So his purse will be much larger than what he'll get paid in the UFC, because the UFC keeps a large percentage of the profit. But he wants to box influencers. We're still talking about this guy fighting in the UFC. He wants to box influencers. And there's a little bit more to this interview.
Astronomical, the figures. So, you know, here was our Jake, Logan, and fucking KSO. I like the three of these guys. And then all the other ones that are tussling around. It's an interesting little side pocket branch, we'll call it. Yeah, stuff that don't me suck. And out I go.
Side pocket branch. I mean, this dude hasn't fought in 4 years. What's the main thing? Imagine if Chandler was still waiting, which he kind of is. I mean, but he did take the Charles Oliveira fight. Imagine if Conor was still waiting, and this is what we're hearing in January of 2025. I made a thumbnail of it as a joke, pointing to Chandler and said, McGregor fight in 2026? It's looking more and more like a reality. But to be honest, I don't think it's ever going to happen, because not only do you have Conor McGregor being strung out, saying weird things in interviews about legalities, considering fighting in BKFC, you also have him strung out at a BKFC press conference. And that's not even, you know, I'll show you guys this real quick. Obviously, you guys already know about this. Irish civil jury finds McGregor liable for sexual assault. Brett Okamoto's on the blacklist now, okay? But, I mean, this should have already been the end of him right here. I know there's people in the MMA community defending him. But now you also have this popping up now. This is January 15th. Conor McGregor accused of sexual assault in new lawsuit. This is stemming from the NBA Finals. Again, a civil lawsuit has a different burden of proof, but all these things are adding up, combined with the fact, look how he looks at this presser. How do you expect this guy to put a training camp together? Look at this. And by the way, guys, if you enjoy these videos, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video. I would greatly appreciate it. Turn on notifications. But let's watch Conor at the BKFC presser. He looked horrible. Every time I see this guy, he looks worse and worse. How is he going to put a training camp together and show up for a fight that the UFC is going to be selling tickets to and not wanting to have to refund those tickets? Watch this.
Chip, please welcome to the stage the notorious Conor McGregor.
By the way, however bad you think this is, it's 10 times worse.
Oh, Philly! Sorry I'm late, I don't give a fuck. I'm the big boss around here. Philadelphia, what's up? I'm here to summon the gods of fighting to action. May they turn our combatants' knuckles to knives. And on Saturday night, may we all...
You talking about a fight promotion, or are you talking about your hotel room, Conor? But look how bad he looks. Look how strung out he looks. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And the Conor McGregor story is truly sad, because he's so rich, he's surrounded himself with nothing but yes men. Everyone knows he needs help, but no one's willing to say it to his face. Everyone's just like, oh, okay. Well, as long as he can make his money, it doesn't matter.
Bleed in the honor of Philadelphia's rich fighting history. May we, as Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships organization, the alien of combat sport, rise above the night sky and rain down blows viciously and prove our worth against any deniers. May local boy and former UFC lightweight world champion, former Bellator world champion, shoot.
You know he did a line right before he got up on stage here. I mean, look how red he's getting. First off, why does his face look like that? I mean, we saw that when he was on the bus, he looked horrible at 8 a.m. This is, I don't even know what time this is, because I'm not sure exactly where they're at, but he looks horrible here.
Shut this man up over here, Jeremy Stevens, who's coming in here into Philadelphia. He's coming in here here to Philadelphia on this on this great sporting weekend and trying to take you out, Eddie. This is as big a fight as it gets with world title fight implications. Like I said, combatants, turn your knuckles to knives. Bleed in the honor of Philadelphia's rich fighting history and show the people what Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is about. Let's go, Philadelphia. Let's go, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. David Feldman, Philadelphia native.
Also, look at the way he's just rocking back and forth like he needs his next fix.
Has brought us back here, and I want every fighter on the card to know, and every fighter that's invited to this event to understand. You are the chosen ones. You are the fighters and the people that are going to bring this company up to the top where we deserve. So, David, congrats on the success. I'm honored to be here. Eddie, good luck, brother. This is a big one. I was around the length and breadth of Philadelphia bars last night, enjoying myself at a few.
Yeah, of course. Of course, he was running around to different bars in Philadelphia. I mean, that's all he does. And I know there's going to be people commenting, Conor McGregor nut huggers. I don't know how they still exist. Man, how are you diagnosing him through videos? Every single time we see this guy, this is what he looks like. We never see him looking normal. That Schmo interview is the most normal we've ever seen him. This is, I mean, look at this.
I had a few Philly cheesesteaks. I gave a big shout out to the Eagles, a big game this weekend. So go Birds! Let's go! This is Philadelphia. This is a Philly type of weekend, baby. And we're kicking it off bare knuckle style.
Eagle. Drink Ford's Irish Stout.
By the way, that guy deserves to be. Somebody kick him in the nuts. Talk about a teacher's pet. Dude really screamed, drink Forged Irish Stout. It's the creamiest. I love Conor McGregor's cream. Yeah, you do. You do. That guy should be embarrassed of himself, okay? He should feel humiliation. That was the worst part of the whole thing. But that's not it. Because we're going to end with this, okay? People always say, oh, Conor's not on coke. First off, during this trial here, he admitted in the hotel room he was using cocaine. But on top of that, some of you guys may have not seen this video. This is one of my most viewed videos on the channel. This is from a Conor interview while he's working on a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. Look how horrible he looks here.
Fun. I mean, he was, from the very beginning, Conor said to me, he was like, I'm a white belt in making movies and acting, and I'm...
Look at this. Look, and it gets way worse.
I'm here to learn, and that was the way it was the whole time. But on the opposite end, I'm, a white belt in the fight game, and in terms of fights and what they look like and how authentic it is, I know it was so important to you from the very beginning that the fight fans always felt like they were watching something original, something fun. And so he was always coaching me and showing me how to do things or change something up.
Look at him tweaking here. Look, this, I'm laughing, but this is actually really sad.
To make it feel more authentic so that all the fight fans in particular, but movie fans in the end too, will love this movie even more because of the stuff that we did.
Conor, what did Jake bring to the table from the realism when it came to the fight game?
Jake's a consummate professional. 75 movies made. I'm blessed.
Look at this. This is the face of, oh my God, we got to get out of here. Look at him tweaking, can't even form a sentence.
To have entered into the movie alongside him. He was patient with me. He gave me guidance, and I just took it. We had a good rapport on set. He has 75 movies made. I have 75 bar fights made. And that's it. We had a good back and forth.
Jake,
and I think there was some more to this. I'll show you a little bit more. Let's see.
He was good to me, and I sometimes had to remind him.
I landed one punch.
Once.
And he hit me with a door. Other than that, it was absolutely perfect.
That's true.
An amazing stunt.
Yeah, I'm trying to make this.
It was time consuming. 18 hours on set. Very little rest. It was strange to me, but...
You can see the look of concern on Jake Gyllenhaal's face right here. We'll listen to a few more seconds.
The fight scenes, I was happy to give my input and my oar. And Jake, as I said, is a consummate professional.
So there you go. There you have it. Conor McGregor. Look, man, he needs help. He needs to go to rehab. He needs to do something. I don't know if he's ever going to return to the UFC, which I've been back and forth. I haven't necessarily died on that hill yet. I don't think he's ever fighting Chandler. Chandler can keep waiting. I don't know how long that's going to last. But I mean, between all the accusations, between being found civilly liable, between using his website as a basically propaganda piece to help influence his career, even though it hurts the credibility of his website. You know, what did Hunter Campbell famously say? They used Conor McGregor as a media tool, I think it was. I think it was something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what it was. But, I mean, this is... And then you have the fact that he's strung it at the press conference. He's getting, begging for influencer boxing matches. And he's getting humiliated to his face by an influencer Paul brother. The 30 for 30 one day for Conor McGregor is going to be very, very interesting. I don't know if he ever fights again. After kind of watching all this, seeing the stuff that kind of developed today and seeing where he's at, I feel like he's never fighting in the UFC again. I do think there's a chance that he potentially fights Nate Diaz later this year. But how is the UFC going to count on him to main event? How do you count on this guy to actually show up? Which is funny because that was Dana's big thing. Conor will show up no matter what. I don't know how you count on him to show up for anything. He wants the most amount of money and a matchup that he can actually win, preferably boxing against an influencer. And that's really the sad thing. So he doesn't have to get into a training camp because he'd rather be out drinking and doing drugs. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.